Hello everybody and welcome back. My name's Angela, I'm the Crazy Poppy Lady, and today I'm going to show you how to make this no paper baby chain, which means we can shove this one in the wash, which sort of guess that anyway considering it's made out of wool. Right, so for this pattern you're going to need your choice of colours. Now today I'm just going to use a blue and a white so it makes it easier for you to see. I'm only going to show you how to do a couple of chains, because the rest of it is really self-explanatory and it is just a repeated pattern for each chain once you get to the second chain. Alright, so let's move this off and grab your hook and grab your yarn. Now this one you can use whichever yarn type you like, whether you want to go thick, thin or whatever. It's individual preference at the end of the day. So what we're going to first do is start off by chaining a loose chain. Now a loose chain needs to be in increments of 2. Okay, so for my one, on the one that I showed you, I did a chain of 22. Right, so let's get going. First of all, you're going to need a slip knot. Pop that onto your hook and then chain 22. Do them quite loosely though, because we'll be working into them. Now we will not be working back and forth in this one, we're going to be working in the round. So what we need to do is work our fingers back along our chain, making sure it doesn't twist, and then place your hook through the first stitch and slip stitch them together. Right, so once you've got your chain, slip stitch into your first stitch, put up a loop and then slip it through for your join. Okay, now we're going to chain 1 and place a stitch in the same place. Okay, and then we will be doing a single stitch all the way around your chain into the top of the loops, and you will have a count of 22 when you get back to the end. Now this is a really simple pattern. It's very repetitive, so it's something that once you work out the join of how you join each chain to each section, you will speed through it like there's no tomorrow, and all of a sudden your little no paper chain will go from millimeters long to inches to feet, or however it goes. And hopefully within a couple of evenings of doing a little bit of work, you will have made a big enough chain to go around the entire Christmas tree. Right, so I'm back to the end now. If you want to do a quick count up, make sure you've got your 22 stitches. If not, don't worry, we will just slip stitch into the very first stitch that you made, and then that pulls that whole chain in line. Then we are going to chain up 3. We are going to skip 1 stitch, and then into your next stitch you will place a double crochet, so that's hook over, pop your hook through, pull up a loop, hook over, pull through 2, hook over and pull through 2. Now we're going to chain 1. We're going to set up for our next double crochet, and we're going to place that double crochet into the second chain along from the last stitch. Okay. Chain 1. So it goes the pattern for the whole way around on this one is chain 1, skip 1, double crochet. So it's chain 1, skip 1, double crochet. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet. And you keep doing that all the way round until you get to the end. So I'm going to keep going, but I'm going to be quiet this time. Make a change for me, won't it? And then I'll show you what to do when we get to the next section. Right, so you're coming up on the end, you've got your one stitch left, and then you've got the stitch where your chain comes out. So what we're now going to do is not prep for our next stitch, we're just going to do the chain 1 as you would have done normally, and then we are going to slip stitch into your second chain up. And slip stitch join, give it a gentle tug. Now we're going to chain 1. And into the same place we will place a stitch, and then we'll place a stitch around the chain, and then into the top of the double crochet there'll be another stitch, and then around the chain, and then into the top of the stitch, and around the chain, and we carry on doing that all the way around. Okay, and then our last one goes around the chain, and then we slip stitch into the top of the first stitch, hook over, pull up a loop, pull up enough yarn for weaving in your end, cut it off, and you're done. Okay, and then if you sew in your ends now, makes it a bit easier for when you're working on the next loop. You'll see what I mean in a minute, because I had to remake this one because I got the pattern wrong. Right, now let's move on to number 2. Right, so we are going to repeat this pattern, but with a slight twist. We make our chain of 22, and then we will be threading it through this ring. Sorry about that, I got disturbed by the daughter, so I've just gone ahead and crocheted my second chain of 22. Right, at this point, what you want to do is grab your chain by the bottom, try not to twist it, and thread it through chain number 1. Okay, and then pop it onto your hook. Okay, I was having a bit of a moment then, wasn't I? Right, so pop it onto your hook, do your slip stitch, and then working into the next chain, we are going to do our single crochets all the way along. I will tell you my little trick, which is to just work over the end as you're going. That way it saves a bit of sewing at the end. You'll only have the one section to sew in rather than the 2. And so once you've gone all the way around, I will meet you back here to join them both together. Right, so here we go, pop in your last stitch, so you've got your 22 single crochets, and then slip stitch into the top of the first stitch. So I can't actually see what I'm doing because the camera's in eyesight for me, so I'm having to do this by watching the screen. Right, there we go. Now we are going to chain up 3. And then we will skip 1 and do a double crochet into our next stitch. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet into your next stitch, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet into your next stitch, and we'll do that all the way around again, and I will meet you back here in a moment to join them both together. Right, so we're back around again, so now it's a case of popping our slip stitch into our second chain there. Right, so you've joined it, you do a chain 1 and then place your stitch into the top of the chain 2 stitch. Right, so you do your chain 1 and you place your first stitch into the top of your chain 2. Your next stitch goes around the chain and then stitch into the top of the chain 2, and you carry on going all the way around until you get to the end. I'll meet you back in a moment. And then once you get back to the beginning again, we slip stitch into the top of your first stitch. Okay, and pull up a loop, cut off your yarn, there we go, and scooch the knot down, and that is chain number 2. So now you pop that to the side just slightly, because you're going to grab your next colour or whatever colour you're working with, whether you're doing multiples of different colours or whatever, the choice is yours really on this one. It's a really simple, really quick, as you've noticed. That's why the video is so short again. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make the next one without any volume on it, and I am going to place in this corner here the instructions so that you can freeze it and refer back to it if you need to. So have fun creating your chain, and hopefully you will send me a couple of pictures of some that you've worked up so that I can show them off on an episode of Whips and Bits. Right, I'm going to head off now. I hope you like the pattern, and I will speak to you all really soon. So stay in, stay safe, and ta-ra for now everybody. bring up a loop, cut off your yarn and make them look nice and tight. There we go. And then it's a case, and then our next step, oh, I'm having a right, so that is how you do the chain and the joining of the chain. Oh, you dopey donut.